little bit different and probably a little bit controversial. This was sent to me on Discord, and I had never seen this before. I have talked in previous videos, particularly one that Tick did that I covered over the madman theory for Hitler, where I talked about some of the other movements that were essentially right along the same lines that sprung up all over the world. This is called A Night at the Garden. This is archive footage that was clipped together for a documentary, and we're going to look at it. This is 20,000 people at one of the most popular and well-known venues in the United States, Madison Square Garden, and it's a rally in 1939. So let's get into it. This is so bizarre. It's so bizarre to see because you see the brown shirts, you saw the women, the girls that came up the aisle, um, obviously the symbols. If there weren't American flags everywhere, you would immediately think it at first glance that this was Nazi Germany. I mean, that would be the initial thought for sure. And again, 20,000 people at Madison Square Garden. I mean, it's it's wild.
I pledge undivided allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jesus.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Before he gets into it, we've talked about this before on the channel. Obviously, we've done a video on Henry Ford. These ideas were not super uncommon, especially the anti Semitism. They were not super uncommon. And before the major war broke out, it was much easier for people and groups to kind of gain steam, gain popularity with, with connection to what was going on in Germany. Once the major war breaks out, that becomes much more difficult to do. When there are hundreds of thousands of people that are wounded and killed, and you have millions of people fighting to stop Germany, it becomes a much harder thing to do, to get public support for. But before that happens, these ideas were not. We look at this today, and this is what drives me kind of nuts about the Madman Hitler theory. We look at this today as it was a very unique circumstance with a very unique figure at the front. That basically it could only happen in that one vacuum, and that it couldn't happen again. That it was something super specific to that area, to that time, to that person. And I mean, this shows that's not the case.
Fellow Americans, American patriots, I'm sure I do not come before you tonight as a complete stranger. You all have heard of me through the Jewish-controlled press as a creature with horns, a cloven hoof, and a long tail. We, with American ideals, demand that our government shall be returned to the American people who founded it.
If you ask what we are actively fighting for under our charter, first, a social, just, white, Gentile ruled United States. Second, Gentile-controlled labor union, free from Jewish Moscow-directed domination.
That is that connection between the USSR and supposedly really what they're talking about is like capitalism, but they frame it as if it's like Jewish capitalism, right? So on one hand, you have this supposedly Jewish-controlled capitalism, and then on the other side, you have this Jewish-controlled communism, Bolshevism, as it's referred to a lot. And those two, I mean, literally the Cold War is going to start right after this. Those two places, those two ideals just completely clash with each other. Those two economic systems completely clash with each other. So that particular leap is just such a strange twist to me. Because I'm not really sure I'm not really sure where the line of logic is for it. It's two totally opposite, polar opposite systems and ideals and people and everything. And it's, they correlate and talk about them as if they are the same thing. God, that little kid is like so pumped up about this. This reminds me of the when we went through and did the Corollas Rex album. There were a lot of comments, and they even talked about it in one of the Sabaton history episodes about how it was a controversial, topic because of what the symbol of Corollas Rex is used for today. That's what that reminds me of. Is that right there? The huge picture of George Washington up at the front of this rally. It's you know it's extremely unfortunate, and obviously historical figures don't have any control of this. Like, they're long gone once they are tied to, or used as something like this. So that was A Night at the Garden. This was done by or put out by Field of Vision. The reason that I did this, the reason that I feel like it's important, one, it's really, really hard to watch. As somebody in the modern day from the U.S., it's hard to watch the pull on U.S. patriotism, the U.S. symbols, mixed in with the pageantry and the rhetoric of the Third Reich. But also, I feel like we kind of overlook stuff like this. Obviously, the U.S. ends up fighting against Germany. The UK does. A ton of different countries do. But again, context is important. And when we look back today and say, I just don't understand how this could happen, I don't understand how this is possible, and it must have been so unique to that person or to whatever. It was more common than you would think. The viewpoint was not, and the ideals were not as unpopular and almost hard to wrap your head around as they are today. So, again, I feel like historical context is important. The next video for the channel will be the Swedish Ranger video, so be on the lookout for that. I want to know what everybody thinks about this. What are your initial thoughts? Have you ever seen this stuff before? Did you know that these groups and stuff like this existed in the countries that would end up fighting Germany? Yeah, I'm curious to know what everybody thinks. YouTube is going to... I already know this is not the most uncontroversial video I've done. So if you like the content, want to support the channel, remember to like, comment, subscribe. You can join the Discord. I'll put the Discord link in the description box down below. But yeah, I'll see you all next time.